The Amazon is an ecological wonder full of rich biodiversity teeming with different species.
There clearly is a long history of complex civilizations in the Amazon.
The Amazon might be part of our world, but deep under those thick canopies, it does not look anything like what we are used to. It is so massive that if it were a country,
the Amazon is a colossal mystery, and it's one of the subjects that I explore in depth in America before.
It would rank as the 9th largest in the world. It covers more than 2.1 million square miles. It is so big that for most of its land, we had no clue what it even held. But now things are changing. What incredible wonders is this vast jungle hiding from us? And why haven't we been able to fully explore it yet? Let's find out ancient Amazonian discoveries. This is something that is going to blow your mind. We have made some ancient discoveries in the Amazon.
More than 90% of the structures that were documented are now completely gone.
That are rewriting what we thought we knew about this vast, untamed place.
The Amazon basin is 7 million square kilometers in area. And within it, 5.5 million square kilometers remains almost entirely unstudied by archaeologists.
You would think the Amazon has always been just about nature's untouched beauty, right? Well, think again. In recent years, scientists have found something incredible. Hundreds of mysterious geoglyphs. Yes, giant circles, squares, and other geometric shapes carved into the earth, scattered across the Amazon. These are not your everyday crop circles either. They are ancient, dating back thousands of years. They were only recently revealed due to deforestation, and they have been hiding under the thick jungle canopy all this time. These geoglyphs are massive, and some cover areas larger than a football field. Think about that for a second. These formations are so big, and yet we didn't even know they were there until the last few decades. What's even crazier is that they are estimated to be between 1,000 and 2,000 years old. That's way before Europeans ever set foot in South America. So what does this all mean? Well, for starters, it shows us that humans were living in and altering the Amazon long before European colonization. The common belief used to be that the Amazon was this untouched paradise. But no, humans have been shaping it for thousands of years. These geoglyphs are proof that ancient civilizations thrived in the heart of the jungle. But the interesting thing is that the presence of these geoglyphs suggests that the Amazon was not just a wild forest that people survived in, it was a place they carefully managed. Archaeologists are now saying that these ancient people practiced something called forest gardening. They didn't just live off the land, they actively shaped it by encouraging the growth of useful plants and trees. And they did it all without wrecking the ecosystem, unlike modern deforestation that is harming the Amazon today. But the thing is, while we have found these massive geoglyphs, we still don't fully understand their purpose. I mean, why would anyone go through all that effort to carve these huge shapes into the ground? Some scientists think they might have been used as ritual gathering spots, places where ancient people came together for ceremonies or religious events. Others suggest they could have had an astronomical purpose, like giant calendars tracking the stars. And honestly, who knows? The Amazon is so vast, and it is still keeping its secrets. Some of these geoglyphs are so complex that it is hard to imagine how ancient people built them without modern tools. It is one of those mysteries that keeps researchers puzzled, and probably will for a long time. What's truly fascinating, though, is how these ancient civilizations managed to live in the Amazon without destroying it. Modern deforestation is a massive problem today, but back then, indigenous people knew how to take care of the forest. Studies show that these ancient cultures actually improved biodiversity. They didn't slash and burn, they worked with nature, not against it. The forest was their home, and they treated it like one, unlike the industrial activities we see today. This goes to show that human impact on the environment is not always destructive. For centuries, the indigenous people of the Amazon managed the forest sustainably. After these complex shapes, we found something else. An island right in the middle of the Amazon forest? The islands. It is true, there are islands, not in the ocean, but right in the heart of the Amazon. Well, thanks to the construction of the Balbina Dam in the 1980s, that's exactly what happened. Thousands of islands were formed smack in the middle of the Amazon rainforest. and the story behind it is as fascinating as it is tragic. The time was the 1980s. Brazil was in a rush to expand its energy production, and it wanted to build as many hydroelectric dams as possible. They decided to build the Balbina Dam, a project that was supposed to supply energy to the growing city of Manaus. But like many grand plans, it didn't turn out exactly as expected. The dam was built on the Watuma River, and when they flooded the area to create the reservoir, they were not prepared for what would follow. What they did not account for was the fact that this flooding would submerge vast stretches of forest. And we are not talking about a small patch of trees here. This reservoir submerged an area of about 2,360 square kilometers. To give you some perspective, that's bigger than the city of London. The water swallowed up the forest, leaving only the hilltops above the waterline. And just like that, thousands of forest islands were created, like little green oases surrounded by water. But these islands are not exactly a paradise. In fact, the creation of the Balbina Dam is often cited as one of the most environmentally disastrous projects in the Amazon. For starters, the dam didn't even produce as much energy as they had hoped. It was supposed to provide clean, renewable power, but instead it became a symbol of poor planning and environmental damage. The islands that formed are now isolated patches of forest, and the animals living on them? Well, let's just say they didn't have it easy. Many species were left stranded, cut off from their natural habitat. Large animals like jaguars and monkeys found themselves trapped with nowhere to go. Biodiversity took a hit, and the ecological balance of the area was severely disrupted. Studies found that some islands lost up to 60% of their animal species. That's a staggering loss. And it was not just the wildlife that suffered. The creation of the Balbina Dam had a huge impact on local indigenous communities. People who had lived in the area for generations were displaced as their homes were flooded. Their way of life, which depended on the land and the river, was forever changed. The government promised compensation, but as is often the case, it fell short of what was needed. Now, despite the environmental and human disasters, these islands have become a focus for scientific research. Biologists have been studying the effects of island isolation on species diversity. They are using this bizarre man-made experiment to learn more about how ecosystems respond to such drastic changes. This is kind of their natural laboratory, except this one was not set up on purpose. Scientists have discovered that smaller islands are more likely to lose species, while larger ones, though still impacted, fare a bit better. It has helped researchers understand how habitat fragmentation, whether caused by dams, deforestation, or other human activities, affects wildlife all over the world. After these peculiar pieces of land right in the middle of the forest, we also found humans roaming the distant parts of this wild area. How do you think they survived there? The tribes. The Amazon is home to some of the last remaining uncontacted or isolated tribes in the world.
When Oriana went down the Amazon, the reports were that there was great civilizations in the Amazon. And then, a few hundred years later, when people got to actually check up on this stuff, it was all gone.
These people have lived in harmony with the jungle for centuries, but their lives and cultures are increasingly under threat. The most famous one is the Awa tribe. This group of indigenous people is often referred to as the world's most endangered tribe, and the reasons for that are heartbreaking. The Awa live in the eastern Amazon, in Brazil, and they are hunter-gatherers, meaning they rely entirely on the forest for their survival. But the sad thing is that their homeland is being destroyed at an alarming rate. Illegal loggers and ranchers are encroaching on their land, chopping down trees, and driving out the animals they depend on for food. At one point, there were only around 350 Awa people left, with fewer than 100 living in isolation. Their numbers are decreasing, and their way of life is hanging by a thread. Despite their efforts to stay hidden, the modern world is creeping closer and closer, putting their survival at risk. The Awa people have an incredibly deep connection to the forest. They rely on it for everything: food, shelter, medicine. They even adopt orphaned animals, raising them as part of their family. But despite this peaceful coexistence, the forest that sustains them is being torn down right before their eyes. But the Awa are just one of many tribes in the Amazon. In fact, it is estimated that there are over 400 indigenous tribes living in the rainforest. Some, like the Yanomami and the Kayapo, are better known and have had more contact with the outside world. The Yanomami, for example, are one of the largest indigenous groups in the Amazon, with a population of around 35,000. They live in the northern Amazon near the Brazil-Venezuela border, and like the Awa, they face enormous threats from illegal mining and deforestation. The Kayapo, on the other hand, are known for their strong resistance against outsiders. In fact, the Kayapo have been at the forefront of the fight against large-scale deforestation and environmental destruction. They have even managed to block the construction of massive dams that would have flooded their territory. And then there are the uncontacted tribes, numbering anywhere between 70 to 100, that remain hidden deep within the jungle. These tribes live in complete isolation, avoiding contact with the outside world, and they are some of the most vulnerable people on the planet. Because they have no immunity to common diseases, even brief contact with outsiders could be deadly for them. Yet despite government efforts to protect them, illegal loggers, miners, and ranchers continue to invade their territories. Now, while some tribes continue to thrive or struggle for survival, there are also strange remnants of those who have vanished. Scattered throughout the Amazon are abandoned villages. These are the evidence of civilizations that once flourished but have since disappeared. These empty settlements tell stories of ancient peoples who once called the jungle home. Archaeologists have found pottery, tools, and even large ceremonial structures in these areas. One famous discovery is the village of Zana, where ancient ceramics and stone tools were uncovered. The village had been abandoned for centuries, and nobody really knows why these people left. Could it have been disease, conflict, or changes in the environment? We may never know, but these abandoned villages stand as haunting reminders of civilizations lost to time. Among these tribes lived a person who is believed to suffer the most from the brutal outside world that is inching closer to this untouched place every single day. The man of the hole. Let me tell you about one of the most mysterious figures to ever live in the Amazon, the man of the hole. This man, whose real name we will never know, was the last survivor of his tribe. For over 26 years, he lived completely alone in the Amazon rainforest, avoiding any contact with the outside world. He earned the name the Man of the Hole because of the deep holes he dug all over his territory. No one really knows why he dug them. Some say they were for hunting, while others think they were hiding spots. But these holes were his signature, scattered throughout the jungle, leaving clues about his solitary existence. The story of how he ended up alone is tragic. His tribe, once thriving, was wiped out in the 1980s by illegal loggers and ranchers invading their land. They didn't stop until he was the only one left. After that, he completely isolated himself, choosing to live alone, and somehow managed to survive in the vast Amazon. The Brazilian government found out about him in the 1990s and tried to make contact, but he always stayed out of sight. The government eventually gave him an 8,000-hectare area of protected land to live in peace, but threats from loggers and ranchers were never too far away. In 2022, the man of the hole was found dead in his hammock. He was surrounded by the holes he had spent years digging. His death marked the end of his tribe, a whole culture, a way of life, gone. We will never know his language, his traditions, or why he chose to live in such isolation. But his story is a haunting reminder of the danger facing uncontacted tribes in the Amazon. As more of the rainforest is destroyed, the survival of other isolated groups is at risk, just like his was. Other than these fascinating tribes and people, we found some mind-blowing natural phenomena as well. The boiling river. The Amazon is full of wonders, and some of them are so mind-blowing that most people have never even heard of them. One of the most fascinating and dangerous places in the Amazon is a boiling river. That's right, a river that has boiling water.
We'll get geothermal manifestations, fumaroles, hot springs, and in our case, the boiling river. What's truly incredible, though, is the scale of this place.
Deep in the Peruvian Amazon, there is a river called Shanai Timpishka, which means boiled with the heat of the sun. This river is about 4 miles long, and in some parts the water is so hot that it can reach temperatures of nearly 200 degrees Fahrenheit. Just imagine that water is so hot here that you could actually boil an egg in it. And no, we are not talking about a little stream. This is a full-blown river, wide and flowing. Now you might be thinking, maybe there is a volcano near it or something. Surprisingly, no. The nearest volcanic activity is hundreds of miles away, which makes the boiling river even more mysterious. Scientists believe the heat comes from the Earth's geothermal energy. Basically, water from deep underground is being heated by the Earth's internal heat and pushed up to the surface through cracks in the ground, where it flows into the river. It is a rare phenomenon and one of the few places in the world where a river gets this hot without volcanic activity. The science behind it is fascinating. The river is heated by geothermal energy, which means that heat from deep within the Earth is warming the water. Usually, we see this type of thing near volcanoes, but in this case, there is no volcanic activity nearby. Scientists believe that the Earth's tectonic plates might have something to do with it. As these plates shift, they create cracks in the Earth's crust, which allows hot water from deep underground to rise to the surface and mix with the river water. This river is kind of Earth's own natural hot tub, except this one can kill you if you fall in. In fact, animals that accidentally fall into the river are often found boiled alive. The water is so hot in some places that it can cause third-degree burns in just a matter of seconds. Despite the dangers, local shamans believe the river has healing properties, and they have been using it in their spiritual practices for centuries. But the boiling river is not the only thing that is mind-blowing about the Amazon. For example, did you know the Amazon is home to pink dolphins? These freshwater dolphins are known as boto, and they are only found in the Amazon River. They are born gray but turn pink as they age, and local legends say they have magical powers. They believe in the stories of them turning into humans at night. Then there are the Amazon's blackwater rivers. These rivers, like the Rio Negro, are so dark that they almost look like ink. But don't let the color fool you. These rivers are actually some of the cleanest in the Amazon. The dark color comes from decaying plant material, which releases tannins into the water, similar to how tea turns brown. And because of the acidity, mosquitoes avoid laying eggs there, making these rivers surprisingly free from pesky bugs. The Amazon is also home to bioluminescent fungi. Known as foxfire, these fungi emit a faint, strange glow in the dark. It is caused by a chemical reaction in the fungi, and while it may look otherworldly, it is completely natural. In ancient times, explorers used pieces of glowing fungi to light their way through the dense jungle at night. By now, you might have already realized that the Amazon is more than just a rainforest. It is full of strange and magical phenomena that defy logic. From the boiling river to pink dolphins and glowing fungi, the jungle keeps proving there is always more to discover. But it does not mean we keep harming the ecosystem and destroying its beauty. How can we stop this from happening? The future. So what does the future hold for Amazon and for us? Well, the Amazon plays an important role in stabilizing the Earth's climate, but deforestation is threatening to turn it from a carbon sink into a carbon source. If we continue to lose the Amazon at this rate, we are going to face devastating consequences for biodiversity, indigenous cultures, and the global climate. But it is not too late. We can still make a difference by supporting sustainable farming practices, protecting indigenous land rights, and pushing for stronger laws against illegal logging. Reforestation efforts can help restore parts of the jungle, but stopping deforestation is key to preserving what's left. The future of Amazon depends on us, our choices, our voices, and our actions. How do you think we can preserve this land of natural wonders? Let us know in the comments below. If you want to hear about more shocking mysteries, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, because we have got a lot more of this. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.